Hello, everyone, and this is Auto Asphyxiation. This is Lark.
And Kimberly.
Oh my goodness, I was we've had some exciting times.
Been a
Okay,
heck of a week.
a lot of things have happened this week, last week. Today we're gonna have the mayoral election in Newark, which has been fascinating, fascinating. Um,
Very fascinating to watch.
We're not even talking about that. But if you're in New Jersey, the Newark mayoral race, wait, first off, I'm sure Ross is going to win. But Youngblood, that's his real name, who is running against him, it's unhinged. The AI is unhinged.
Absolutely unhinged.
And
If
and the thing is, typically I would say if they go low, you should go high. But I felt in this case, Ross had to get dirty with this person, even though it's not
yes.
Ross, it's just Ross's people. But they had to because he was just this young blood person. He took it too low, and you can't be in Newark and just let somebody punk you like that. That's what
No,
they
he
say.
you can't like that's not like he took it way too low. Like
Yeah, he did.
I think I said this to you, like he's really borrowing from like MAGA's playbook.
Yeah. So, yeah, and he also did like lots of really gross homophobic, sexist. There are lots of things you could have done that could have kept it above board, but he took it way.
Way out of pocket.
He took it to hell.
Yes.
Um, so then Ross had to take it to hell. Anyway, moving on. Again, not Ross officially, but the people who supported Ross. We don't know who it was, but it was anyway. Um, there's been a virus, a hantavirus, that has got loose from a cruise ship. Um, and it is pretty scary. It is
To say
like,
the least.
yeah. And we kind of talk about we have a group called Spaces and Means Production by Henri Lefebvre, and you kind of see how this cruise ship, I guess we should give a little rundown of what happened with the ship and what went down. So
Yes.
go ahead. Do you want to do the rundown or should I?
Let me see here. So the cruise departed from Argentina on April 1st. A 70-year-old Dutch bird watcher fell ill on April 6th, and he died on April 11th. On April 24th, the body was removed from the ship to fly back to the Netherlands. No, I'm sorry, not to the Netherlands, Johannesburg, South Africa. The body was escorted by the man's 69-year-old wife. She died on April 26th. So she was on a plane. They didn't test the body. They didn't test her, anything, um, to see what maybe he suddenly had died of. They just probably assumed that he was an old man, and old people die sometimes. But she was later tested at the hospital, and she came back positive for the Andes strain of the hantavirus. So the hantavirus is, I have my scrubs on tonight for this. The hantavirus is generally, it occurs in the southeastern United States sometimes, but it's usually a zoological virus, which means it passes from rodent droppings, rodent urine, rodent saliva to a human being. Actually, it was Gene Hackman that passed away, him and his wife, right? Recently.
Yes,
They
yes.
passed away from hantavirus. Usually it's not transmissible between person to person. It's only from rodent droppings, rodent urine, rodent saliva to person, but it doesn't transmit from person to person. However, the strain of the hantavirus that has infected the people on the cruise ship is the Andes strain of the hantavirus, which occurs in South America. There's a couple of outbreaks every so often in Argentina, and this is transmissible from person to person. So that can be like, touching a doorknob, you cough in your hand and then shake hands with somebody, just like contact. It's not an airborne virus, but it's like contact precautions virus.
And I think the thing is just something's very interesting. My father-in-law is a ornithologist, and he is a essentially has the largest or longest bird survey in North America, and he's a birder ornithologist, what they call them. And I was kind of like, I was like, I can't wait to have this conversation with him because I remember he does things like, oh, look, I want to find this. Let me explain why I'm talking about this. Apparently, they went off this, when you are on a cruise, I haven't been on a cruise, but apparently when you go on cruises,
You
you
go
go,
on
well,
shore excursions.
yeah, shore excursions because you're like kind of like the Love Boat. You've seen all those shows, and they go and they walk around. Well, apparently this couple went to a landfill to find a bird. Um, and that is where they picked up the virus. It wasn't like, oh, it was a tourist area or it was a place. They went where they were not supposed to go.
Yeah, you
Go
wouldn't
ahead.
normally go crawling around in a landfill. I mean, I get it. I get the like search for a rare bird. But like, yeah, you should not go crawling around in a landfill.
Yeah, so we want to make clear, like this wasn't something that it wasn't something that it wasn't in the tourist area. It wasn't like he went and got a cup. I've been to the Canary Islands. That's not where he caught this. He caught
No, it
this
wasn't
doing
on the
something.
ship at all.
No, yeah, he caught this doing something he was not supposed to do. And also, um, I've read up on this, but it's even though this strain of the hantavirus, or I'm probably saying it wrong, is transmittable to people, it's not easy. It's not like, oh, I'm on a bus and then somebody coughs like, 12 feet away, and then, oh no, it's not like it's not as contagious as like COVID or even like the flu, or you
No,
got to
it's
be,
not.
yeah. So yeah, well, yes, it's fatal if you get it. Not necessarily fatal, but pretty
No, but it
fatal.
definitely can be. And a lot of people, generally people that are infected with hantavirus, they think that they have either the flu or a cold or maybe a bout of COVID when they first get it. The symptoms are very similar, fever, chills, intestinal upset, etc. But it progresses quickly and it becomes pneumonia. And then you become septic and you die.
Yeah, it's a horrible way to die, but just to put out there, and the thing is that you can read this information at the CDC, you can read it at WHO, you can read it at all these places. It's hard to catch. They've done a pretty good job at containing it so far. Yeah, they are some kind of, you're kind of like, well, why didn't you stop, his wife? They didn't know. Like, how could you not know? I mean, yes, 70's old, but it's not that old. If you're 70, you're on a cruise ship and you're on vacation, you're probably in shape. So, I think that, it's kind of weird this assumption that, oh, certain people die when they get a certain age and not like not being suspicious. Like if he had been 26, they would have been like, ooh, that's interesting. I think go ahead.
Especially on a cruise ship, I think that because cruise ships are such self-contained units. I went on a cruise for my first honeymoon. I went on a Disney cruise for like 3 days. Because they're self-contained units and because there's often outbreaks of stomach flu, colds, etc., there's hand sanitizer everywhere. And I'm talking about like this was like in 2006 when I went on the cruise. There's hand sanitizer literally everywhere, and there's hand sanitizer. You have to sanitize your hands before you go into the dining room. There's there's signs all over the place about hand hygiene and stuff like that because cruise ships are aware that shit spreads really quickly amongst a small, compact group of people.
And you mean that figuratively and literally, right? I mean, and I think that's the thing is just very one of the salient points about this is that, I think we can contain nature. Like, oh, we can put these precautions, we can do, and I don't think you can control nature in that way. I don't think that there are certain things that especially now, you can't really control movement. You can't, and once you're in that ship, you can't, um, there's only so much you can do in regards to keeping people safe from germs because they're really little and you have to depend on people washing their hands. You have to depend on, and you're in close proximity. And I feel that in some ways I've always felt a little bit iffy about cruises. I would feel iffy about flying. But you stay on a plane a lot less amount of a time than you do on a
Yes.
cruise ship. And also just, I kind of think about the selfishness of the person who went to this landfill. Um, and I'm wondering what his background was, because if his background was in the sciences, how could you not know that you were putting people in danger when you did this? I,
That's what
I,
I'm
I,
saying.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm really kind of like, I mean, I feel bad for him and his family, but wow, how selfish. And for you to do that. And plus, too, you had to have known you went to a landfill and now I'm sick. Maybe there was a connection to that.
As like you said, especially if you're a scientist, like that's just basic, like I don't know any other way to put it. Like it's just basic common knowledge. You don't go playing around in landfills. And if you're a scientist of any stripe, you should definitely not go playing around in landfills. And if you get sick after doing so, you should be able to connect the dots.
Well, I think another thing this is really shows is how important it is for the international for the community for nations to work together. For this outbreaks such as this, illnesses, pandemics, it takes a multi-tiered cross coalition response. You have to have different nations talking to each other. You have to have people getting along. We're in this really dangerous period right now. And we've cut back on sciences, we've cut back on healthcare in the United States. And we kind of think, oh, we can kind of um, seclude ourselves from the rest of the world, and that doesn't work that way. If we have airports, if you have ports, if people, because now apparently someone, and again, I want people to be understand the chances of us catching this are so very, very low. But in New Jersey, someone who potentially was exposed um was on a plane with somebody who was on the plane with somebody else. It's very Kevin Baconish. So it is, but this was it was kind of like this whole idea that we need to continue to talk to other nations. We need to continue to talk to other countries. You can't um you can't plan for everything with just border checks. I mean, it's just
No. And we can't be isolationist in that way. You know, we saw with COVID how rapidly something that's dangerous can and will spread. So it's, I mean, Trump's response to COVID was bullshit anyway. And, he keeps pulling us out of World Health Organization. We have RFK Jr. in charge of our Health and Human Services, which is an absolute joke. We need the scientific community of the world at this point in time. Like America's in a bad spot scientifically and health wise.
no, and this is and also this I think the cockiness of the Western world is what you think. This whole I can do whatever I want. If I can get on a ship, if I can afford a cruise, if I have a passport, if I have the free time, and it's kind of like, this idea that I'm above all of this. I'm above you. I'm above nature. I'm above God. I'm above the supply chain of ecosystems, and I think that stuff when things like when we have these kind of incidents, we remember you are not above anything. We are all part of the same system. This is a complex system and we share it. So this has to do with, when we think about the climate crisis, we think about the oil, we think about what is happening now with the world, with the United States, essentially republic crumbling, how it impacts the entire world. We can't do these. We cannot continue to think that we are all. I think in a way, we talk a lot here about borders, how Essex should be a city rather than a county. Um, and I think about the world. The world should be, we shouldn't have nations anymore. It should be the human community on the globe. It should be the globe. All the country, the whole world is connected. We're all connected as one planet. Because every time we have these kinds of incidents, it shows that we're stronger together as one unit than we are in all these segments. It'd be different if like this was something that was helpful. It's not. It's not helpful. I mean, and it's. I don't know. I just feel like you know that's kind of like all. That's kind of all I'm saying. I'm just kind of monologuing now.
No, but you're right. Like it's just, like everybody was so inspired by the Artemis 2 mission around the moon, and everybody is so like, the breathtaking photos of the Earth taken from, the shuttle or the capsule or whatever. And I don't see any borders when I see a photograph of the Earth taken from space. I don't see any lines drawn on it, just how the continents are. There's we share the same biosphere with everything that is in the biosphere, and that means germs too.
No, I think that yeah, and this whole idea that the Earth is a scenery, that everything on this planet is a playground for human beings. We if we they had this video of this child being attacked by a beaver. That beaver had rabies.
Yeah, that was here in
Um,
Ma that was here in New Jersey. That was in Mawa.
yeah, that was in Mawa. And I'm not saying that people should not be able to go out and enjoy nature, but you have to understand that this is where these creatures live.
Yes.
This is not a you don't get to do whatever you want whenever you want to do it. And also too, you need to be respectful and conscious and understand this is not the world is not your toy. We objectify, I think so many times we objectify um creatures that we think are lesser than us. And sometimes, what the way men objectify women, the way people objectify racialized people, people tend to do that with creatures and animals and the ocean and the environment. We think this is an object for me. This is something that I can play with. And then when nature strikes back, we're like, oh no, I mean, yes, it's horrible, but this is what happens when you don't have any respect for anything but yourself. I mean, this didn't, I mean, if you think about what happened in the Canary Islands was mainly about disrespect. If this person had not been so disrespectful and cocky, people wouldn't be dead. He wouldn't be dead. His wife wouldn't be dead. Also, the ships, you know how people are. You need to be very explicit with people and say, hey, if you do this, we're going to pull your passport and send you home. If you go, gallivanting around to places where you shouldn't go, there are no second chances. There's no, it's kind of like if you're a kid, you go on a field trip and you do bad things, you don't go hang out in the hotel room and have fun. You get a ticket back home to,
Hmm.
whatever suburban hellhole you're from. And this is what they should do on these ships. I always see people on these ships just behaving badly. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the internet, so you just happen to see the people who behave badly, or is this a common occurrence? When you went on your Disney cruise, how are people acting?
I mean, there were some people that the Disney cruise is a much larger ship also than this cruise was. We're pretty fortunate that this cruise ship was like a less than 200 people because the cruise ship that I was on had like 2,500 people on it, and that's not even including like all the crew. There were some groups of people that got a little rowdy and stuff like that, but the ship was big enough that you could get away from them. But I could see where, like on a smaller cruise ship, like those little Viking River cruises that they have, I could see where that would be an issue. Like there's not as much space where you can like go away and not have to deal with somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think about there was this incident in Hawaii, the monk seal,
Yeah.
and it's the guy was like, "I'm rich, I'll just pay the fine, I don't care."
Yeah.
Um, and I think that there is something that we need to do. It shouldn't be a fine because people who have money, they don't care about that. They don't
No,
care
they
about the
don't.
money. They'll risk that. Oh, $1,000, I have that. $10,000, I'll have. Oh, think about the Mount Everest. The people who are climbing that mountain and they're just kind of like, well, I'll just pay. I don't care. I don't want to clean up. They said if you don't clean up after yourself, you got to pay $10,000. And the people are like, I'd rather just pay the money.
Yeah. Then clean up after myself. And one of nature's like biggest wonders.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the thing that we need to understand is, it was a very interesting story. And this is about the kibbutz scene. Um, and it was very interesting. They had this child care incident, not child care. Okay, it was this child care center, and people were picking up their kids late. And they're like, oh my gosh, how can we stop them picking up their kids late? Because it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes late. You know what they did? They instituted a fee. And you know what happened? So wild. They were started picking it up an hour late, 2 hours late, because they're like, oh, okay, I'll pay. I'll just
Yeah,
pay.
I'll just pay it. Yeah.
Because instead of it becoming a social responsibility, it became a transaction. And so it became, at first they're just kind of like, oh, I feel bad being late because you're a human being and we're kind of like, we're working together. But once it became, oh, you can pay, people acted worse. And I think this fits in very well with this incident. Um, you know, maybe we should I think cruises should change what they're doing. I
I th
think
I agree with you.
instead of cruises being like, free buffet, free free alcohol, free fun, I think cruises should be um educational lessons to teach about respect for nature, respect for the ocean. They should be educational experiences. There should be a component where if you get on a cruise ship a hour or 2 hours a day, you must be in education so that you can learn about respect in regards to the ocean, respect in regards to the places that you are going. They need to change how they're doing cruise ships because this what is happening here and what I've heard happening and just generally when I see people go to islands, they just seem that when they go, whether it be Mexico or the Caribbean or uh, people just seem to behave badly. It seems like they just feel like I can just do what I want, and there needs to be some kind of um purview. We need to change people's idea, change people's worldview about when they go on vacation, especially when they go to these areas that are like untouched by urbanization. There needs to be some kind of I don't know because I just feel like these kind of things happen because of disrespect. Um,
I think that you're absolutely right. I think a couple years ago there was like a whole like spate of like people that like a baby dolphin would wash up on the beach and people would like rush over to it and pick it they picked it up, they were taking pictures and videos with it instead of just helping it back to the water, and the baby dolphin died. I think something similar like that happened with a baby seal as well, because Westerners and Americans especially don't respect wildlife? How many, like every year, there's how many people that get gored by bison and buffalo, like in Yellowstone National Park. Like I know you laugh at me because I'm just like, oh, it won't hurt you. I'm
Yes.
I'm like that because I'm respectful of the animals where I go. Like if I go on a hike, I used to go on hikes by myself a lot when I still lived out in Western Jersey. Like if I'm on a hike, like I'm staying on the trail. I'm not touching anything. I'm not chasing anything. Like it baffles me when people are like, "Oh, I should touch this animal that lives in the forest and has 4-inch long claws or huge horns growing out of its head." Like, why would you do that? It's just ridiculous. Like, yes, bears are freaking adorable, and I wish that I could pet one, but I know enough not to pet one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You can appreciate things, but you don't have to always play with them. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like with people. You don't go like, if you're a man, if you see a woman that you think's attractive, you don't go up and just pick her up. Like, oh, look, it's cute. You don't do that because we're human beings. You don't do that with other kids. You don't just grab people. And you don't just grab bears. I mean, grab bears might grab you. They don't have respect, but you don't just grab bears. Um, but and this is all, this all goes together in regards to the coordination with who, the coordination with the CDC, the, respect for nature. This is all about pro-sociality and why it's important for us to respect each other, to get along with each other, to coordinate across countries, coordinate across cultures, to coordinate, with ourselves, to just understand that this is, you know, space, whether it's physical space, whether it's the space between like countries. This is all, part of power, and it's part of our society, and we have to recognize what it is. We have to recognize the power of our social infrastructure. I think we think a lot about the built environment, and and how we shape and care for that. Kind of like we need the built environment to be safer, which I hate the word because I hate how we use safe. We need the built environment to get us from place A to point B. What about the environment that's not built? What about nature? How do we keep nature safe? How from us? We always talking about safety, but then we're always fooling around in nature being the danger. Human beings so much are the unsafe part of the natural world.
No, we absolutely are. I mean, how long did it take them to figure out that, oh, instead of having deer get hit by cars all the time, we should build a bridge and plant a meadow on it, and maybe the deer will use that to cross the road instead. And gosh golly gee willikers, they do. But it took us like so long, like how almost 100 years to be like, oh, we should do this instead of like just randomly having roadkill all over the place. We don't really think of our natural world, and it's obvious in the way that we are just building data centers everywhere. Um, all of the uh, all of the stuff that Trump is doing away with as far as like the US Forest Service and opening up protected lands for mining and drilling and things like that. I think it's very Westerners and especially Americans have an elitist attitude that they can command nature, but that is just not the case at all. And people are they are fucking around and they're gonna find out because the climate crisis is gonna get worse because of their meddling with things.
Yeah, and we have to also understand that, and I think this is something, a lot of people think we could just go to a different planet. If we mess this one up, we could go to a different planet and then we could, take care of that. Well, this kind of shows the boat was kind of like that, oh, we can escape. That was kind of like this, oh, we can escape to a different, we're above it all. We can stay safe on this self-contained boat. And I think that we kind of have to realize that diseases happen on boats. Diseases happen on trains. Diseases can happen on on planes. And the border is not there is no border. I mean, I think this thing is so funny. We have this whole idea like, oh, leisure, work life. Oh, this country, that country. Oh, we're a human being, and that's a little creature. So you know what? Nature doesn't care about a border, okay? Nature's like, fuck your border.
And yeah, and to talk about the cruise that I went on, and to double back to your question about it, the thing I noticed the most was like, so we went to the Bahamas, we went to the big island for like one day, and when we were pulling into port, I heard somebody on the, we're like standing on the deck, like watching and whatnot, and this woman on the deck close to me went, "Oh, thank God, there's a Starbucks." And I was like, "Ew." I was like, I didn't come to another country to have American crap. Like, I came to another country to see what the other country was like and to experience their things, like, so like, and that's the same with, like, you were talking about like the resorts in Mexico, like I've been to Mexico a couple of times and I've never been to any resort town, like, and I'm so thankful for my experiences, like going somewhere and experiencing the actual local culture rather than just being stuck on a resort where everything is exactly the same as it is when I'm home, just in a tropical location.
Yeah, I mean, and this is another, another point. And it also kind of goes to cycling, where essentially the United States is a very individualized, our bicycle advocacy is very individualized. So it's kind of like, yeah, so what we did is we made a law called 4 feet, and you have to really, essentially your safety is dependent on another person deciding to follow the law. And I feel that any system that's individualized like that is going to be harmful for people who are historically excluded or marginalized. Is going to be harmful, because I mean, and I know they're saying like, yes, we want to be very, very clear. This is not COVID, but it's still a thing that it can't, this method of individual be responsible. Cause like I even said that in the beginning. I was like, well, maybe we should educate them. It's not even about that. I think there needs to be a system that goes beyond just individual, you should know. We have a whole different perspective where we just think about ourselves, and maybe this entire industry, maybe leisure, this kind of leisure activity needs to end, and we need to figure out a different way to do this, because I don't feel like in this interesting timeline, I don't feel like this is sustainable. If we can't get along as countries, as nations, then maybe we shouldn't have international vacations anymore. At least not like that, where you're, maybe not like that. If we can't figure out in our, especially in the world that's not developed yet, and I don't mean like in a bad way, in the unbuilt world. I want to say that better. In the unbuilt up world, um, we need to protect it. And if we don't can't figure out a different way for people to explore it, maybe we're gonna have to, like, come up with something different than just here's some drinks, here's take your credit card and just go out and have fun. No, it doesn't work that way. It can't continue to work this way.
And it, like the whole like resort industry to me is just so tacky. It really is. It's just so tacky. It's such a colonial mindset. And we can't continue with that colonial mindset, even down to the people that take a honeymoon vacation or whatnot, because that colonial mindset has a level of privilege to it that oppresses and harms other people and other creatures on our planet.
Exactly. I think that's a good place to end. Because I mean, I think that it's just, yeah, it all kind of all connects, in regards to power, in regards to space, in regards to infrastructure, in regards to us just being, again, we need to figure out pro-social ways to share this planet, and to learn about each other, and to learn about the creatures on this planet, because we we can no longer objectify this planet. We can no longer objectify the creatures on this planet. Um, this planet is our home, not a playground. And that's all I have to say with that. So with that, make sure that you listen to our podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Substack, our Facebook group. We do a lot of things. And we know
Our
we wish
event,
in our oh yes, yes, in our event on next
May
Sunday. No,
May
it's not next Sunday.
17th,
This Sunday.
this
This Sunday
Sunday.
coming, yeah, Sunday coming up at 2 p.m. Please come out to the Chorus Tavern and Dorothy Parker right here with Nancy Burke, Leslie Ann Murray, Diane Ford, and Marina Anarkoff. Sorry, I said that wrong. Anyway, I'm from LA. I don't know how to say things there. If it's not Smith, I can't say it. All right. With that, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.